I love it, but there's a lot of things about having a family that I did not expect that kind of caught me out of the blue. So my goal here of the conversation we're going to have is for people to understand like the good of having kids, but also the challenges that come with it.
Hop in the car, watch it go vroom, vroom. I told her mom that I will soon. Knew as a child back in the womb. Oh, told her sit back, I need my room. Hop in the car, watch it go vroom. I'm in a whip, so I gotta zoom. They tryna talk, they not in the room. I've been so real, I'm dead to the tomb. They in the way, they gotta move.
I mean, what's up, guys? Welcome. So we have two guests on the podcast today. We haven't done this for a minute. As you guys watching this on YouTube, you could see on my left-hand side, I got my beautiful wife, Miss Lindsay.
Thanks, babe.
And then next to Miss Lindsay, we got my beautiful little sister, Miss Hannah.
Hi.
And as you guys see two girls next to me, this is not just a women podcast, although it's going to be geared to that a little bit, but it's also for you men because there's a lot coming your way and a lot to learn and listen from this and how to be, a good support with what's come down the road if it hasn't happened already. But today we're going to talk about motherhood. Both of these two girls were crazy party animals and eventually had kids. Right?
Yeah, I guess. I mean,
I'm just
not
kidding.
that terribly bad, but definitely jumped from one lifestyle of traveling all over the US and kind of partying for my job, which is really weird to say.
What did you do for work? Just so everybody could hear.
I was
It really like pulled me into you.
Worked for Dylan. I used to work for Monster Energy as a Monster Energy model on different circuits and events that they had. So Supercross was one of the main things. So the girl with the 30-second board, that was me. And that's how I got Dylan. He was like,
I saw her on TV and I was like, that's the one.
He was like, I like that girl.
It took like 3 years.
Running across the dirt with a board.
He said the blonde one with a sign. I want that one.
I'll take her.
I sent a couple wrong DMs to other ones.
Yeah. I found the right one finally. So going from traveling and just, living life for me, basically. Yeah. Then I met you. And then that definitely like pulled me in and slowed me down a little bit, got me a little more focused. And then quickly became a mom.
What about you, Hannah? What were you doing before becoming a mom? Like, what did life look like?
Living your best life.
Just doing whatever. Traveled with Jordan and would go out whenever I wanted to. Not excessively, but 20-something years old. Like, of course, it's what you're doing as you're growing. But yeah, just doing whatever I wanted, not really having to consider anything or anybody else.
Did you plan to have a kid?
Nope.
Not plan.
Mm-mm.
But you were married, so that's the start.
Yeah.
How about you?
Good timing.
Did I plan to have a kid?
Yeah.
Well, when I met you, it was like, hey, we both want kids. So, like, if it happens, it happens.
But there's not like a planning involved in like, hey, we want to have a kid on this date. This is what we need to do, right?
Not with us. I'd say there are lots of people that do properly plan for children, but then there's a lot of people who don't plan and have no clue.
Yeah.
So,
well, the reason I started it like this, because I wanted you guys to learn a little bit about like Lindsay and Hannah and like what their life was like before. And then we're going to transition into like what their life is like today. So a lot of you guys listening today that don't have kids will be able to relate what Lindsay and Hannah both talked about. They traveled, they did a bunch of stuff. Like, there's not a whole lot of responsibilities. Like what you thought of, you did. And, woke up when you wanted to wake up, right?
Yeah.
Do what you wanted to do. And there's a vast change. And a lot of society likes the fact of having a family and having kids, but
when it actually comes down to it,
what it comes down to and like really what that life looks like, I love it, but there's a lot of things about having a family that I did not expect that kind of caught me out of the blue. So my goal here of the conversation we're going to have is for people to understand like the good of having kids, but also the challenges that come with it, and so that people can properly prepare, unlike any of us did, right?
I was gonna say, there's really like no preparing for having kids. It's like
Well, at least so you
Maybe
can
a
know what
mindset.
you can
Yeah.
know what your life's gonna look like, right? Like
Yeah.
it is for me, it was a massive change. It changed how I worked. It changed who I hung out with. Like,
Yeah.
everything. It literally changed my whole life.
And it
Not
usually
saying in a
takes,
bad way. It changed in a good way.
yeah, no, it definitely made you grow as a person. But for the guys, it always takes the guys about, I mean, I can't speak for every man, but I'd say
can speak for me.
for the first year, like it takes the man, the husband or the father of the child about a year to like really get, oh, like this is my life now. Whereas the mom is instantly submerged, like whether you want to be or not, you are living to keep this baby alive.
Yeah.
And the dads are still like, they're out going to work and they are mainly providing, hopefully, for the family, if that's usually how it should be. But sometimes that's not the case. There's obviously single moms doing it on their own too. But anyways, what I'm getting at is takes the dads a little more time than the moms to adjust. And it's hard for the women as well, but we don't have the option to be like, well, I'm still going to go do boys' night. And you're like, oh, yeah, well, I'll be here in bed
Yeah.
breastfeeding your child.
Let's go through these steps real quick. So like let's talk about the exciting stuff, right? So when you found out you were pregnant, what was that? What was the feeling? Let's start with Hannah.
I was scared. I genuinely was. And it's funny because I was in a very good spot in life. Like it was perfect timing on paper, but I knew everything was going to change. And it didn't mean it's going to change in 9 months. Like it changed right then.
Yeah,
because
for
you
sure.
have to stop doing certain things, stop eating, obviously stop drinking, which was not an issue for me. But it's like, oh, I'm not going to go out and do these things anymore. And for the next 9 months, I'm going to be thinking about this human.
That is true. I didn't think about that. Like right when you find out you're pregnant, like you do have to.
Yeah.
It's not like 9 months later.
No, it's immediate. But it took a little bit just getting used to that idea. And then I was excited.
Yeah.
You just start dreaming about this kid that you're about to have. And it's the coolest thing.
You were a little scared at first.
I was
You're
terrified.
like, what am I going to do? I don't know if I can barely take care of myself.
That's how I felt. And then you get catapulted into it and you're like, oh.
I was like, no, you
Yeah.
got this. Just call me if you need anything.
And I did.
How about you, Linz? When you found out you were pregnant, what were the emotions like?
Well, I was super excited, and I know you were really excited.
You said right?
Yeah, you were excited.
Okay, it almost sounded like you
No,
weren't.
he was super excited. I was super excited. We were not traditional in the means of getting married first, so I was scared to tell my parents. But everything worked out fine because we ended up getting married later on our own time frame, like timeline, and didn't have anybody push us or pressure us into that. So we liked that. But
thank God that worked out. Like just for advice for everybody, get married first.
Yeah.
Live together, go like build your partnership.
Yeah.
And then have
because it's not like that for everybody, where a lot of people end up having kids with somebody and they're like, oh, this isn't for me, especially if you didn't live together.
Mm-hmm.
But we lived together. And anyways, so we did it non-traditional. So I was nervous to tell my parents, but it was all good and it was exciting. And I think it even gets more exciting with like the second one, because you're like, oh, I get to bring another kid into this world, a sibling for my other child, and just knowing how rewarding it is.
And exciting, right?
It's scary and it's exciting. So
getting on the deeper side of things, you're both young, right? How old were you? 25, 26 when you were pregnant?
yeah, I was 26.
How about you, Hannah?
26.
26?
Yeah.
So that's still young, right?
Yeah.
Like we're becoming adults and building our careers and like building our life and what we want to look like. So there's like a lot of stuff going on.
And everyone's still like living their lives.
So the question I have for you guys is, did you feel qualified?
I felt I felt very qualified. I
felt
was
qualified?
a nanny. I always have loved kids, so I knew what to do with a baby.
Yeah, and it's okay if not
Yeah.
as well, right? How about you?
Yeah, my answer is different, which is funny. But I had two thoughts about it. I'm like, how am I going to do this? Because I'm still figuring my life out and I'm still trying to grow up. And I was very aware of that. But my other thought was, there's no way God would give me this baby if I wasn't supposed to have it. And so I just knew whatever was going to come next, I was going to be ready for it.
That's amazing.
And this is another thing, we're not trying to sway anybody either way. Like, children are a blessing and we are so thankful to have them. But you can still be growing up and raise a child. Like if you think about it, like even our parents are still doing life for the first time. Everyone's doing life for the first time.
Yeah.
So it's kind of weird to think about because you think your parents know everything and you're like, now that I'm a parent, I'm like, they didn't know shit.
Yeah.
Like they are making this up as they go.
Yeah.
And now that's what we're doing.
Yeah, that's cool that you said that.
Yeah, because it's like you have to give them grace as well because they're doing life the first time too.
Mm-hmm.
So it's cool to be doing it together with your kids.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think it's exciting.
I thought about that yesterday. I was talking to somebody who's pregnant, and I was saying that that's my favorite part about being a mom right now is the fact that I see her find interest in stuff, and I'm like, oh, I could try to do that too. Like, you never stop learning and growing and trying to do new things just because you're the parent.
Yeah.
Like, you just do it with them.
New
and it's so fun.
experiences together.
Yeah.
I think it's cool what you said when I asked because that's probably a big thing for a lot of people when they find out they're pregnant and they look at their life and they're like, oh God, like I'm a mess right now, right? And then I asked if you're qualified and you didn't feel that you're qualified, but then you went back to your faith and said, hey, like I trust in God, and if God wants me to have a kid, I'm gonna have a kid, and like we're gonna get it figured out, right? And so that's a true solution.
Yeah.
And then leading to like the next step. So you find out you're pregnant, you go through these thoughts, think if you're qualified or not, what do I do with these emotions? Trust in God, or if you're, let's say, Lindsay, and you're excited, like I'm gonna do this because I was a nanny, whatever it might be, right? There is a solution there. So then going into pregnancy, right? I think this is good for a lot of men to hear as well, because like men's emotions and hormones don't change like a woman's.
Like ours, like this.
And then he goes, and a lot of it gets all whacked out when you get pregnant, right? So what does a girl, what changes like emotionally for you guys or in your hormone balance when you are pregnant? So us men could be prepared for what's coming, and also for the girl mentally to know like, hey, I'm going to feel like this. It's okay that I feel like this. This is part of the journey.
You're going to feel every way.
Yeah.
You're never going to feel like, I feel like it's nothing's consistent.
No.
Like for like 1 month, you're like, I'm so happy. This is amazing. And then the next month you're like crying because you're like, all my friends are going to go out and do everything without me. And you're like, you're still figuring it out, you know, like that's just part of pregnancy and like being a woman is everything changes. So your hormones are going to go up and down. But thankfully, after the fact, like once you have your baby and like once you're cleared, like if you're not breastfeeding and all that, you can just start working on sorting out your hormones. I mean, you can do that during as well, but has to be like naturally through foods and stuff. But I think it's an emotional roller coaster, to put it long story short.
Yeah.
And I know you guys can attest to that. Like you have seen some shit.
Yeah, but it's hard. Like I asked a question because like going through it, I look at like, am I doing something wrong? Because some things are like
typically no.
Sometimes it's way out of the blue, and it'll make me feel like I'm fucking crazy. Like I remember going through it, and I'm like,
likewise.
Yeah.
And I'm like, dude, what is going on?
It's just your hormones are just so imbalanced, and everything's changing.
Yeah.
Like what do you have to say about it?
Well, I think as the man, try not to rationalize with her about how she's feeling, because it's not going to make sense. Like, honestly, like truthfully, it's not, because there's an amount of control that we can have over our emotions in a normal state. When you're going through pregnancy and your hormones are out of whack, there's sometimes your brain, everything's off. So you can't really rationalize that well with a pregnant person.
Yeah.
Depending on like the situation.
So as a man, just know that your wife
Or partner,
wife
is
going to go through some changes. They're going to say things to you that maybe they don't mean, right?
Yeah.
Or is it true? Is it like an underlying thing?
It
Kind of like when you're drinking and things come out.
I think it could be both.
It depends on the statement.
Dude, I get fucked.
Yeah. Well, but that's the fun part about marriage, is like you get to kind of question.
You're gonna see it all. Yeah, like
so as a guy, you know, like they're gonna go through some stuff. They're not
just be prepared for a little bit of
stable, happy, sad.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Remember
random thoughts that
I would like cry in the car because of my outfit or something. Like when I was pregnant, I would literally like cry. I'd be like, nothing fits me. And he's like, what is going on? I feel ugly.
And then from the woman's standpoint, mentally understand that sounds like your mind's going to go in different places. Your feelings are going to go in different places when there's no rhyme or reason behind it.
Yep.
And it's not forever. You're not going to feel that way forever. It feels like
everything's temporary.
Yeah.
Do you have pain during pregnancy at all? Is there a pain aspect?
There is. It wasn't horrible for me, but
Same.
Is there
were
anything
lucky.
that you should or should not consume? Like we all know alcohol and drugs is a no,
Yeah.
yeah.
right? But are there things that
All the rest is kind of like at your
'cause I
discretion
know
is what
Yeah.
I feel.
I agree.
like you loved like we don't usually eat this way, but like McDonald's was the hit, right? Like fast food and
This
all
was years ago when I had no concept of like what I was putting in my body was probably like ruining me.
that. Mhm.
But yeah, when I was pregnant with Ryland, so she's almost 6 now, I did eat McDonald's.
So go through craving.
Like, yeah, the beginning of my pregnancy, I was like craving McDonald's. This is so gross to even talk about.
There was questions.
ashamed.
There was questions when you were eating McDonald's at the office, and we're like, "That's not like Lindsay."
Oh gosh.
Oh yeah, I was like, I was hitting McDonald's like every morning.
Is there any nutrition or like vitamins or something that somebody should have like going
Oh,
through
yeah.
this that can make sure your kid's set up right? Like
Like
that,
prenatals
Yeah.
and you like
Folic acid?
Folic
Yeah.
acid, yeah.
so I think that's one of a big fear, right? Is like, is my kid going to be healthy and what do I need to do? So
Definitely better to be consuming like good food that is clean and not be eating stuff that has preservatives. And I mean, we all know that now. Avoiding seed oils, avoiding like just processed food. That would be ideal. And like working out. So
Yeah.
Hannah worked out during her whole
Yeah,
pregnancy.
the whole thing.
And I feel like if you stay consistent working out, like your body bounces back so much faster.
Yeah.
I feel like your baby glow up after, like your comeback was good.
Thanks. I was thankful that I felt good enough to work out that whole time, and I did. It felt like made my pregnancy easier. My mood was a lot better. I felt I wasn't as emotional as I probably could have been the whole time. I
Did it
definitely
help
had
with
my
your
moments.
delivery too?
Yeah.
Because it's supposed to like, if
The
you
best.
stay working out during your pregnancy, your delivery is supposed to be a lot
Yeah.
easier.
Yeah. It was quick. It was
Yeah.
painless.
Yeah.
And recovery was very quick too.
what about like carrying stress through pregnancy? Can that affect the kid?
Yeah.
Oh yeah. There's like in utero, like known, like if you can like pass trauma and pass your
So what-
stress and
So with that being said, because like there's a lot of stress and pressure in the world, and like if you just like look at the economy and finances, and there's just a lot of pressure going on, right? So and that weighs on everybody. How, as a pregnant woman, how do you get through those like stressful times? Is there something you guys are telling yourself?
I'm looking to you because
Yeah.
you're a little more you're into like yoga and like you've definitely changed a lot
Yeah.
in the best way. So what's your answer to that?
For me, well, one, don't stress yourself out about stressing out.
Yeah.
Because you put a lot of pressure on yourself carrying this child, thinking, am I going to do something wrong by feeling this or doing that? I remember I would cry, or something happened with my dog and she was having a seizure, and I started freaking out, and then I felt immediate fear and guilt over the baby I was carrying.
Yeah.
And you just have to be okay with the fact that you're going to stress sometimes and it's going to be hard, but learn how to take care of yourself. Like I would spend my morning, I'd wake up, go outside, stand in the grass barefoot. There's a lot
Do
of
some
benefits to
grounding,
grounding.
yeah.
Hang out with my dogs. There's benefits to that as well. And I would meditate and work on breathing. And I'm someone who always hated to be in my own head and spend time with myself, which told me I needed to do it.
Yeah.
And so, especially in pregnancy, I just did that, and I visualized, and I started my day that way. And every day I also told myself, like, this is going to be a great day, because
Yep.
why wouldn't it be?
Yeah,
So
I love it.
That positive affirmations
Yeah.
every day and
it sounds silly when you're doing it, and especially if you don't feel that way. I've done that while crying, and I'm like, this is so stupid. And then I walk away. I'm like, oh, you know,
you
it could
feel
turn
better.
around.
Yeah. No, it's good.
So I want to get into like having the kid, but before that, what can the husband or the man do to best support the wife or the woman through pregnancy?
I'd say just by being supportive and like offering to help where you can, but there's obviously nothing you can physically do. Like I can't gift this baby to you and you carry it for me, but
Is like to help you like relax, like take care of the house,
yeah, like yeah,
Yeah.
and the laundry,
being more present and taking a little bit of like weight off if your schedule and like if work stuff allows for that. Like
yeah,
I know some people are like hustling really hard to make ends meet to have these babies.
Right.
So not everybody can do that, but just by being like patient with your wife if she's having a day, and then helping at the house if you can at all, because less stress is better for the mom and the baby.
Yeah.
Same.
Yeah. I would just say give her grace. And then if she's being emotional, just be loving.
Or
Yeah,
just,
'cause you guys
or just
can't
go
control-
away.
Yeah.
What Lindsay like told me through is like she can't control her emotions, right?
Yeah.
Like it just takes you over, so that's helpful.
Yeah.
And then getting into the pregnancy side, so like, or not the pregnancy, like having the birth. If I was like one of you two, that's where I'd be like the most scared of, like, okay, this thing has to exit my body.
Yeah, that thought goes through your head. So definitely like your first time around, you're like, the scariest part is like, whoa, I'm gonna have a baby.
Is it that? Is it that? Is it?
It just depends.
It
like
depends,
for
yeah.
everybody's different.
I mean,
for
it looked bad. I watched, but being the person, right? You did the epidural and all that, which
which is
probably a good. I know.
I don't
people are
I don't love
mistaken on
that. Yeah, but I had to do that because I was induced. So it was like very intense on your body when you get induced. So they really recommend getting an epidural, which health wise is not the move I wanted to go.
Yeah.
But you just kind of have to do what's best in the moment. And yeah, it's really not bad. But if I did have a third child, which it's not on the table right now, I would go natural birth route.
You scared me when you said if.
Well, you never know. You just never know.
How about you, Hannah? Was it
I
having the kid a situation or a
Like
breeze?
mentally, were you like,
used to be really scared, but I had 10 months to prepare for it mentally. And I knew how I go into it mentally will kind of dictate the process. And I wanted to be in a good headspace when I brought my child into the world. So again, that went back to like meditating and just taking care of myself, doing what I needed to do to be in a good headspace. And I just trusted that it was going to be fine. I prayed about it. And
yeah, that was the biggest thing.
It wasn't painful.
No, I also got an epidural. I labored at home until I was 6 centimeters dilated, and I have a high pain tolerance too.
Yeah.
So I was able to handle that without sobbing.
Yeah.
And then I got the epidural, and I laughed as I was pushing her out.
Oh, good.
I was totally fine. It was just
Set the
calm,
vibe in the
peaceful.
room.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
You
Talking
envisioned
shit.
how you wanted it to go, and it did.
Yeah.
So then this baby comes into the world. Like what were the emotions like then?
It's just exciting.
Mine was so opposite. I didn't bond right away, which not a lot of women talk about. I feel.
This is good.
Yeah. So
This is a real life situation.
I had the best pregnancy, the best labor. Postpartum knocked me on my ass. And as soon as the baby came out, I was like, holy shit, that's a real human and it's mine. And it was scary
I remember this.
and exciting, but I kept looking at her for the next night and I'm like, oh no, that's like a whole kid. It's like, it's me being totally honest.
You're like, let's put you back for a little.
I'm like, I'm not ready. I thought I was ready, but it just, my hormones dropped and that was hard. And it was hard for 2 months and then it got better. But you kind of start going through this thing where you're like, this is terrifying. I don't feel great about life at all, but I love this kid.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that
You
was
had to
the
make
one
it work.
constant. Yeah. You had no choice. Or in my head, I had no choice.
So you're freaked out.
Yeah, I was.
Oh yeah. I think we were all freaked out.
Yeah.
Your mom was freaked out.
Yeah.
We were like, oh no.
Yeah.
Hannah's
That was
not.
the worst I've ever been mentally in my life.
And I want to in a minute. I want to talk about like the comeback, or like what you did to like.
And I was
Turn
like
that
the
around.
opposite. So that's good that
Yeah.
you said this, because there are women who have babies and they're like, okay, like people like literally have walked away from their
Mhm.
kids, you know, like, but that's because they had such bad hormonal
Yeah.
like drops and they're like not ready for it. And then there's me, I'm like, oh, I'm so
Yeah,
happy.
the
Like
best
bring me my
situation.
Chick-fil-A in bed. I think it was Chick-fil-A, right? And then I'm just gonna cuddle this baby. And they just, I love babies.
Yeah.
I could literally,
How do you know what to do like when the baby comes? So
it's like a mom instinct. You just like know what to do.
so you don't have to take classes or.
You can. I didn't take any classes, but they do offer classes. The hospitals offer like lactation specialists. Like you're not just going into this completely blind. Like there is some support in America. It's not like what it is in different countries where like in Australia they have babies and then they put you up in like a hospital hotel.
Yeah.
And they have like nurses helping you. Like it's so different here.
Yeah.
We do have some support, but it's not the best.
So the baby comes, you figured out like that wasn't too much of a challenge.
Yeah, the
But
baby comes and you're just like, you got to change diapers and feed
Yeah.
this baby. And they come in and check on you.
I
But
remember they wanted to like take the baby to do things,
I'm
and
I'm indifferent about all this stuff. I'm not indifferent. I actually don't. I'm not about it.
yeah.
So no one's taking my baby away from me. No one's going to take it into another room where I don't see what's going on. They offer to take your baby and go give it a bath. That's also a woo-woo thing of mine, and that's a no. That
Yeah.
stuff's on there for a
What are you
reason.
nervous of with them doing that, like taking your baby? What do you think they're gonna
Well,
do?
this is like
Let's
a
talk-
whole
talk
other
about-
podcast
don't
topic.
get deep, but what do you?
I just
What do
don't.
you not want?
I
to
don't want
happen?
anything administered to my child.
Okay.
Don't touch my baby.
Yeah.
It's my baby. No one touches the baby.
Were you the same way?
Yeah, I wouldn't let her out of the room.
She also had me as a coach.
Yeah. I
Yeah.
had her on speed
I was
dial.
like, do not let them take your baby.
Do the hospitals push like a certain medicine or vaccine on you? Like,
Oh, yeah.
they want to
Everything.
give your baby shots?
yeah,
Mhm.
immediately.
Right out of you.
Yeah.
And when you say no, which I believe is the right choice in my opinion, but I'm not a doctor, so don't have to take my choices. But when you say no, what do they do?
There's pushback. They want to do that
Yeah.
because they think that's what's best for them, but that's a whole other topic. They're just taught that's what's best for them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then also the hospitals make money per child, like after however many vaccines are administered. But not at the same time, to this point is these are brand new babies. Like they are born with an innate immune system. They're perfect.
And the
Why are we
nutrition
putting-
comes from
Yeah, the mom's breast milk. We are not needing to do this right away. And people can and if they want to, but I think people should look into it and make informed decisions on what they want to give their children. And if you do have to do vaccines, you definitely should look at spacing them out. So you're not giving the kids, all those heavy metals and all the other ingredients that are in the vaccines, like all at once. That's why we've seen autism like skyrocket in America because we're just vaccinating like straight away. And they can't handle that. Their little bodies are so little, they just can't handle all of that toxic load
right.
so fast.
Yeah, it's scary.
It's super scary.
Yeah.
So
And then like another complication is like breastfeeding, right? Some people go breastfeed, some people can't. Our first kid you weren't able to, the second kid you weren't.
yeah,
Is that
that's a
It's
stressor
normal,
right there
right?
in its own. You want to make sure you can provide for the baby. And if you aren't able to do that, it makes you feel like somewhat of a failure. So, I did everything I could, had all the help that I could get, and it just wasn't working out for us. So we just did the next best thing, which was getting her on a good formula.
yeah?
And there is great options out there for people who can't
Yeah.
breastfeed. So
Can't you?
they
pump and
say,
stuff, though,
yeah,
too?
well, you could do that too. There's
Yeah.
pumping, there's
Which is the best, right? Like pump for as long as
Yeah.
possible type of
Yeah.
thing. Because formula is an option, but
Yeah.
you could.
no, breast is best, but it's like a fed baby is
The most
the most important thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
And when the baby's crying all the time, what do they usually want most? Like, what are like the three things? So what are they crying about?
Titty.
yeah,
They're hungry.
they want some milk or they
Milk.
need a diaper change
Yeah.
or they have like gas or
Yeah.
like you need to burp them.
Okay.
That's pretty much it.
It really
And
is.
that's
so
that's
easy
pretty
taking
simple
care-
things that
yeah.
You gotta
Yeah.
do for like the longest.
Babies
time.
are so easy. They're so intimidating at first, but
Yeah.
it's like, man, they're not asking you for everything all the time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mom, give me
Yeah.
this. Mom. I'm like, wow, you were so nice when you didn't talk.
So then getting out of you go through this postpartum, right?
Mm.
You're healthy. You're back together. You're obsessed with your kid.
Mhm.
Daisy just turned 1 a
Yeah.
couple
Yeah.
weekends ago, right?
Mhm.
Mhm.
How did you make that transition?
So for 2 months, her first 2 months, I struggled a lot. Jordan had to leave to go back on tour when she was 2 weeks old. I was so depressed. I wasn't really eating, so I couldn't keep my milk supply up. And I was trying to pump, but I couldn't do that and take care of her at the same time. And so I was dealing with basically a hormone drop there.
Yeah, you had
It's
the
like,
baby blues.
yeah, I was constantly like weaning off of breastfeeding, and there's a hormone dip when you do that as well. And then I finally made the change around 2 months to not breastfeed her anymore. That helped majorly. And then I started going to see a holistic health doctor and got my blood work done, saw where my levels were, talked about how good I felt mostly during pregnancy. also, I was on antidepressants before I got pregnant, which is important to note. So I had that drop in the beginning.
Shit. You hard cut it.
Yeah. And that was hard. And then my hormones filled in that gap. So my body liked me being pregnant. Like it worked well
you were
for me.
happy. I was like that too.
Yeah. So I just talked about that and then did all this testing for my blood work and then got on hormones. And I've been doing that since. And every 6 months I go back and check in. But also as soon as I hit the 6-week mark after having my daughter, I started working out again because that's a non-negotiable for me. It turned out to be more than how I look physically. It was a mental thing.
Just like your brother.
Endorphin rush.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I needed that. And then I even, when she was 4 months, I would start taking her to the gym because I didn't always have somebody to watch her. And I wasn't going to sacrifice me being able to show up as best I can for her.
Because if you're not taking care of yourself, you don't feel good about yourself.
Yeah.
How are you going to take care of?
Right.
Yeah.
And I was happy to have her around when I'm working out because she gets to grow up and see, like, one, you never stopped me from doing a single thing I wanted to do in my life. I don't ever want her to believe that because it's not true. And two, like, you can have fun. You can have a kid and still do these things that you need to do.
Yeah.
And that was one of the biggest things for me was getting back into working out, getting back into yoga was major.
Yeah.
And shifting my hormones.
That's good.
That's exactly what I wanted to take away from this podcast for people is kids don't hold you back. Is you just need to show up and show them like I can do this with you, and so that they have the example for later in life. Like it's fun, like we're all doing this together.
Yeah.
Like it's
Things
not
take a little bit more time.
yeah.
Right.
Oh, definitely. You have to give yourself more
There's
time.
an adjustment.
Yeah.
But it's so worth it. So
it shapes you, as we talked about earlier, to be a better person.
Yeah.
totally.
Right? Like you can't be hungover. If you want to be a good parent, you can't be hungover.
Yeah, like you got to
You don't
stop
want to be
partying.
consuming alcohol all the time where they're
Yeah.
watching that and catching that, because then they're going to do the same thing. That's like one of our biggest deals.
Yeah.
You know?
We definitely like don't like them seeing us drinking.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah. Growing up.
Yeah.
What would you say now that the kids are grown? Like what are some of the greatest challenges and adjustments? And then I want to talk about the upside of that in a minute.
I mean,
Challenges and adjustments.
I'll say I'll let you take.
So like getting ready.
Yeah, like everything just takes more time. So you just have to allow yourself more time to do things, and then also give yourself buffer time if you're making plans with people. Like I always tell my mom friends, like we'll be there between 12:30 and 1.
Yeah.
Like I don't want to feel. This is one thing that happened to me growing up is my mom, she just is a very busy lady, and she ran my dad's business and she took care of us full time. So it was like I caught her stress, and I don't want to do that to my kids. So instead of me being like, hurry up, we got to get in the car, we're late. Like I do get like that sometimes, but I literally stop myself and I'm like, don't do that. Like you just got to give yourself more time. Like you shouldn't show them like that going somewhere should stress you out. So I catch myself and I'm like, don't be like that. We just need to allow ourselves more time. Like, I don't know. That's like my biggest thing is time.
Yeah.
You get a little more challenged with the time.
Yeah.
Is it similar for you?
Yeah. My situation's so different, I guess, in a way, because Jordan's gone a lot and I'm alone with her and working too. So the hardest thing, my biggest challenge was balance being a mom, balance doing my job. And I just learned where I had to make sacrifices and feeling okay with that, knowing one, it's not going to be like this forever. Two, what's more important than being a mom?
Yeah.
Like that's my
good.
biggest title right now. And Daisy's still little, so it's not as much of a challenge as it'll be in about a year. I mean, she's running away now when we go public places, so it's getting there. But I don't have similar challenges quite yet because I could just like set her somewhere and then get ready really fast and then whatever. But yeah, for me, it's just balancing my time as best I can.
Yeah, that's good. And then let's talk about the upside of this. Like now having kids, like what did that bring into your life?
So much.
Mm-hmm.
Do you enjoy being a mom more than not?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
For sure. Being a mom is the best and greatest like accomplishment. And I think seeing your kids just grow and as they develop, like when they get excited about like new things, it's like just as exciting for you because you're like, oh, they're so stoked on this. Like it makes me excited, you know? But yeah, and then when they have like the similar interests as you do, like right now Ryland's super into horses and I love riding horses. And then Stevie's like super into dirt bikes and like we all love dirt bikes. So we're like, heck yeah, you want to watch a dirt bike?
Like those things
YouTube?
come like the similar interests later, right? And I think a lot of people, when they think about kids, at least for me, I'm like, I don't have kids, we're gonna do all this stuff together. There's a good
couple
3
years
of like until you get to that point, right?
Yeah.
So I guess you're in the perfect spot, right? With a 1-year-old. And on the upside, how's it make you feel?
So having her, I wouldn't say I was a very confident person before her. After having her and knowing that this little human needs me for everything and looks to me like I'm the greatest person in the world, that is the best thing. I have gained more than a best friend for life, but I've gained confidence and I realized I'm a powerful person. Having a baby was the most powerful thing I could have ever done in my life.
Yeah.
And
that's cool.
I get to guide her and learn with her and create a space for her that's safe. And it's like a dream to do that. I feel like I get to help her learn how to be. And it's such an important job and I want to do the best that I can. And it sounds scary or intimidating, but it's like the coolest thing in the world because it also forced me out of a depression. It forced me, and I mean that in a good way, but
for sure.
I'm not going to sit here and be sad in front of my kid. We're not going to just sit inside. Like, let's go experience life, even if we don't feel like it. And then you do, and it's good.
It pushes you to be better.
Yeah.
All around.
And suddenly I don't identify with depression anymore. Good. And that's a huge win for me.
Yeah, I'll attest to that. So like I get to see you every 2 or 3 months, right? Since we live out of the state. And every time I see you, it went from like Hannah being my little sister to, oh shit, like she's a woman now, right? Like there's a whole, from being an outsider, but being with you your entire life, right?
Yeah.
I saw, and I told you this, like the whole 180 switch of like, who's this person who just showed up? Like you definitely raised a lot of standards in the family.
Everybody's noticing it.
Yeah, it's impressive. So
thank you.
That's, Hannah's not just saying that, but I've been able to see that as well, which is super cool. So kind of wrapping this thing up, it's something to look forward to. Hannah and Lindsay both we went through the steps all the way from A to Z.
I know. I wasn't expecting that.
But it's, I think it's a really cool thing. And then on the dad side of it, I've gained a lot of respect for my wife and then also my sister and a lot of other moms of just seeing them take on a responsibility that you can't leave. Like we're in this bloodline. We don't quit on that stuff, and take on that responsibility and make changes in their life and change their identity and literally everything they do and sacrifice that to make sure they raise some good kids. Like you start loving them even more than you thought you could when your significant other becomes a mom. So as we talked about, give them grace, support them. It's a big change. But for you get to sit back and just watch them create their dream really come true, right?
Yep. Yeah.
Well, you guys both did a good job. Thank you very much for coming on and letting me ask a question.
Raise good human.
All right, guys, do good.